Hey guys, Lizardlea here for 4 Heavenly Beasts Day 27. Here is Day 26. I am so close to finishing the 4th page. I think it'll be like a day or two. Like if I don't finish the 4th page today, I should finish it on Day 28. Yeah, it's Day 27 today. I got my hair chopped off a little bit yesterday. We took off 2 inches and it's so nice. I love it. Oh, I do not miss having super long hair. I changed my computer setup a little bit. I got a, what's the word I'm looking for? A monitor stand, but it's an arm. I think there's a specific term for it. Adjustable monitor stand? That might be it, actually. Super nice. It only takes up this much space. It only takes up this much space on my desk now. So, like, I can just move it wherever I need it, and it's very nice. So... no one cares. I don't know why I'm talking about this. And I want to cross-stitch. You want to watch me cross-stitch? Let's do that.
Alright! David and I recently watched Squid Game.
Like the rest of the world.
I know, but we did watch it dubbed, so we watched it with people speaking English. And I will say, they actually did a really good job with the lip movements. There were a couple times where I was like, wow, they lined that up, you know, kind of like they do in anime, where they try very hard to make it work. It was really good. Obviously, I don't know how their pronunciations were, but I liked the people's names. They sounded very interesting. Yeah, I really liked it. I mean, Battle Royale is one of my favorite books of all time. So just from the premise of, you know, these people are pitted against one another and have to kill each other in order to win, you know, that's up my alley.
A tad.
Just a little bit. I also liked the manga for Battle Royale and the movies. So, you know, and I enjoyed the Hunger Games movies. Didn't read the books, but I liked the movies. So, you know, I'm basic. It's whatever. Do you want to go over the premise of the show?
Okay, the premise of the show, as not already mostly explained, is it's a show.
Wow, you're really good at this.
And the end. No, so it's I'm just trying to figure out like the best way to put it without spoiling, because I guess you find out in the first episode.
Yeah, in the first episode.
So a variety of people throughout South Korea are down on their luck for a variety of reasons, either self-inflicted or not. Often, or in all cases, they are horrifically in debt. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
In
it's
American
bad.
Money.
Yes.
And so they're basically out there getting destroyed by the world because of their debt, you know, and have turned to various ways of trying to solve that. One, our main character is basically a degenerate gambler, as is shown quite early on.
Mm-hmm. But he's still actually really nice. Like, he's running away from, I guess, loan sharks. Is that what you would call them?
Yes.
And he runs into this girl, and he knocks her off her feet and her drink to the floor. And as he runs over to make sure she's okay and help her up, he also picks up her drink and, like, puts the straw in it. And he's like, I'm sorry, here you go. And then he continues running. Most people in a situation where it's like, you know, like, loan sharks, like, break limbs and stuff, don't they?
Oh yeah, I mean, they literally make him sign a thing that says, yeah, we're gonna take your eyes and your kidneys and stuff.
Yeah, like, it's bad.
Which I don't know that that's very realistic, but...
I mean, I feel like me thinking they were gonna at least break one of his legs was realistic, which would be bad. But he still took the time to stop and apologize to this person he ran over and help her up. So, like, yes, he has his vices, But I still think overall he's generally a good person.
I see it played as way more ambivalent, especially in the beginning, or morally ambivalent, in that, like, you know, yeah, he helps the girl, but at the same time, like, he does not do well with his daughter or his mother.
Well, yeah, the gambling. The gambling always comes first for him.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, at his heart, like, if you got rid of his addiction to gambling, I think he would be a good person.
Oh, sure, yeah, but, like, that's the problem with a lot of people's addictions is, well, they'd be a great person if they didn't have this crippling addiction.
Oh, I completely disagree. I think there are plenty of people with addictions that no matter, even if you take their addiction away, they're still going to be a butthead.
Maybe. I think that's kind of hard to... Well, whatever. So...
I mean, there are some people that are just mean.
Yeah.
Like...
I get you. But being horribly in debt, I think...
Oh, definitely is a factor. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've met people who are not in debt who are completely pieces of crap. So...
Yeah.
I believe everybody has the capability to go either way.
So either way, these people are all horribly in debt, and the main character is approached by a man who wants to play a simple child game in the subway, where you throw a
folded piece of paper
onto
another one on the floor. And if you can get the one on the floor to flip, you win.
Yeah.
If you fail, you lose.
Right. So, he says we'll play basically for the equivalent of $100, I think is what it translates to in US. And so, you know, he goes, okay, you're on, and he takes his turn, and he fails. And the other guy takes his turn, and he succeeds. And he's like, I don't have the money, blah, 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 blah. And the guy's like, well, how about I just slap you? And so this cycle repeats itself for what is implied to be a very long time of him just
His face is bruised and swollen by the time he finally wins once.
Yeah, the guy's not holding back.
It was funny, though. As soon as he did win one, he was like, okay, I'm going to slap you. And he pulls his hand back. And the other guy's like, you don't want the money?
Well, no, he catches his hand.
Oh, he catches... Okay, well, that's the thing. Is like the other guy stops him and is like, you sure you want to slap me? Don't you want the money? Like, he got so invested in getting slapped in the face that he just wanted to slap the other dude. He did end up picking the money in the end, thankfully, because it would have been stupid just to slap him once for all this money.
So, in the end, he gets the money, and the guy's like, hey, here's a card, and then, like, walks away. And lo and behold, there's a phone number on the card. So, he calls the phone number, and long story short, they wind up selected to be in these games with a bunch of other people. There's 456 of them at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to play simple children's games, and if they win all 6 children's games, they can win the money that there is. And if they lose, then they're eliminated. And surprise, incredibly mild spoilers, but they're life or death games. Losing gets you killed.
And if you die... how much was it per person? 4 million or something?
400,000, 400
Okay, it was
million.
a lot. A lot of money gets added to this gigantic piggy bank in the room they all sleep in. And and they do, like, you know, slot machine music when it adds money too. So it's like it's really pushing the
buttons,
the gambling addiction on them.
Yeah. So it's a very
intense?
Yeah, I think intense is the right word. Show. It doesn't really, it does a very good job of subverting what you expect while still following the script, you know? Like, it doesn't actually do anything that innovative, in my opinion. It actually is kind of standard in many ways. But the few things it does that are unique are very well done, and it makes the show a lot better. And while the ending is a little weak, in that I think it's still well executed, but it's kind of not very ambitious.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were both absolutely not surprised by that ending.
Well, it's not even that it wasn't surprising.
No, I know, but I mean, like, I doubt anybody was. It was pretty obvious what was going to happen.
Yeah, no, I mean more that like the reason behind what's going on was a little bit of a letdown. It could have been more interesting, but it just isn't.
There is kind of a side story of this detective who's looking for his brother, and I got very invested in that. Like, I was so anxious every time they switched over to him, because I was like, oh my god, dude, don't die. You're here to find your brother, just don't die. It was nerve-wracking for me.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the side plot. Yeah, basically, I don't know how to discuss any far. That's pretty much the synopsis, I would say. So, yeah, they're
I
playing.
think
They're
you
playing
meet
a
him in
game.
episode 2, don't you? No, well, you meet him in episode 1, but
Yeah.
you get more from the detective in episode 2, so it's not a huge spoiler to mention him.
Yeah, and I mean, in the end, it's God, what's the word I want here? It all feels well put together, and that you don't feel too contrived. Like, obviously, there are some contrived freaking things, especially the detective's arc, but it's still pulled off well enough that you're not sitting there like it doesn't bust your suspension of disbelief. Like, even though it's clearly impossible, it's just executed well enough. You're not really thinking about it, you know. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard to discuss without spoilers, so you want to just jump
We
into
can go to spoilers.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, if you haven't already seen it, there's a reason everyone's watching it. It's really, really good. It's violent. Surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, there is lots of blood and death. So if that is a no for you, I don't recommend Squid Game.
Yeah. So, anyways, the main character's name's Sung Gi-hun, or we'll call him 456 because we're probably bad at pronouncing Korean.
456 was his number.
Yeah, and yeah, he's basically a mess.
I mean, everybody in there is a mess.
Some more than others. There's not too much to say about him other than he's the protagonist and we view it through his world, like his lens. And then there's his sort of childhood friend who like he hasn't been really close with in a long time, 218 Cho Sang-woo, who is like the prodigy of his area because he comes from like a very poor portion of town, sort of implied. And he's the one who's off. And he's a prodigy, and he's great, and
he got a
secretly,
PhD and all these things.
Yeah, and he graduated from the really good university, and everyone SNU, and everyone's super happy for him. And yeah, it turns out that he was embezzling from his clients, and like
he's one of the ones worst in debt, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, like the amount that so like they call out how much everyone's in debt.
Well, not everyone, but it's like 6 people.
A bunch of people, and he's one of them. And he's like, "Well, you're only 600,000 in debt." He's like, "They don't know about all of it. It's like 4 million or something huge." So, yeah, he's incredibly in debt, and he plays as kind of a foil to 456.
Well, I don't know. Like at the start, he comes across as kind of friendly, and he's trying to figure things out. And as time goes by, you're like, wow, no, he's skeevy. He is just.
I think he's conflicted, and that's supposed to be the idea because that's like his entire thing. Of like, especially because the thing this show does really, really well is very realistically portraying, yes, this is a life or death game. Are you really gonna do the kind and right thing when it's your life on the line?
Or are you gonna take out the competition when it presents itself?
Yeah, like, are you, or most importantly, are you going to go out of the way to help your competition when it could cost you your life later because they're still in the game? That sort of murder through an action sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now he's much more active, but like early on he clearly figures certain things out and he wants to tell people, but then he doesn't. Well, he does in the first game. He helps save the main character because he tells him like, "Hey, hide behind somebody else."
Oh, that's right.
And he's already kind of subverting the games even there, which he doesn't really ever do, but it's kind of a theme throughout of finding other ways to beat the games rather than just what's presented, which isn't played with. And I'll talk about that more later. Anyway, then there's the police officer. So we'll just call him the police officer because his name is...
Don't even try it. Okay. Just call him the police officer.
Police officer. So yeah, he sneaks in looking for his missing brother. It's implied that his brother's one of the players. We'll talk about that more later. Then there's 67, who's the North Korean girl. She's a defector from North Korea. And she's obviously not... She's the one who actually stole from the main character earlier on because he wins big on the racetrack and she pickpockets him when he's running from his loan sharks.
He knocks her down, and while that scuffle is going on, she obviously cut the inside pocket of his jacket and took his wallet.
Yeah. So she's pretty prickly, to put it lightly. Because of course she's gone through hell already, and now she's here going through it again.
And she is here trying to save her little brother. Like it was so heart wrenching. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and she's number 67, and then number 1 is an old man with a brain tumor who's pretty much like, yeah, the outside world's miserable, so I guess I'll play.
Yeah, it's better to take my chances here.
There's the gangster.
Oh, that guy.
Who's got, again, gambling debts and had tried to sort of do a coup against his bosses and failed, and so now the outside world, all the gangsters are trying to kill him. And then the Pakistani, Ali.
He's my favorite!
Yes.
He is the sweetest angel ever, you guys.
He's missing 2 fingers because of a work accident, and it's clear he was being taken advantage of, and his, boss is just scamming him.
And he has a wife and a little baby.
Mm-hmm. And they've immigrated from Pakistan. I don't remember if it was legal immigration or if they just escaped, or because Pakistan's not. I know they have issues with India.
I thought there was a reason he got out, but then he was still trying to get them out of Korea, but not because of anything other than
I don't
his
think
debt.
he necessarily fled Pakistan so much as he was looking for work, because Pakistan isn't exactly. Well, it depends
I
on
don't
where you live,
remember.
yeah. And then finally, there's we're gonna call her Crazy Eyes.
Oh yeah, crazy lady. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
This crazy manipulative woman, who's just insane and serves several purposes. So those are like the main protagonists. The big first twist is like the very first game is Red Light, Green Light, which you've probably seen all over the internet by now.
Yeah, that gigantic statue of a little girl
Mm-hmm.
who, her body and her face are facing the players, and then she turns around and puts her hand on a tree, and they're like, "We're gonna play Red Light, Green Light." And when she says red light, her head is the only thing that spins around. And it's super weird knowing that her body can also move, but it creeped me out every time it did it.
That was probably intentional.
It absolutely was.
And of course, they just shoot everyone who is moving at all. And the game is not... The point of the show is definitely not the games. It's not super in detail. It's not like, oh, we're all figuring out amazing strategies. Like, Red Light, Green Light sure feels played fast and loose, where it's like, well, that person looked like they were moving, and that person looked like they weren't, and they just shot that one, but not the other one, but whatever. It's not the point.
Well, I mean, a big part of it was, like, it immediately, the first time it does red light, her head turns around, and the guy in front is still kind of moving a little. So the statue looks at him, shoots him. The next guy behind him starts freaking out and starts running away, so he gets shot. And then other people start freaking out and trying to run away. So, I mean, it immediately mows down, like, half the people, because they all just freak out and they start moving.
Yeah, people freak out, people don't make it. Like, by the end of the first game, almost half of them are dead.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us to the next point, which is that one of the rules is people can vote to stop the game.
Oh, what? No, hold on. It's very important to mention what my favorite Pakistani man did. So, right? Pakistani?
Yes.
You said he was from Pakistan, right? Yeah. So, I don't remember his number, sorry. So the main guy, number 456, is running, and he starts to... Actually, was it that someone was shot and grabbed him, or that he was tripping over someone? Either way, he was falling.
Yeah, he was going to fall. I think he tripped on someone.
He was falling when she called red light. And so you're like, oh wow, they're going to kill him immediately. And then you see that he's kind of like frozen halfway to falling. And then it spins and it shows you that the Pakistani guy is holding him. He's grabbed his shirt and he's just holding him in place with one hand. So this is when you learn that he is incredibly strong. Yes, he's missing 2 fingers on his left hand, but he is still probably the strongest dude here because of all the work he does. He is just built. And he holds him in place until she spins back around. And that was the moment I was like, oh my god, he's my favorite. So he's going to die. And if you guys watch our videos regularly, you know my favorite characters always die. It's just a theme that follows me in life.
So yeah.
Yes, so that was that. It
Yeah.
was important.
And with that said, by the end of the first game, obviously all of the characters I just mentioned are still alive because
They're important.
They would not have mattered otherwise.
Yeah.
And barring really interesting twists, but that didn't happen. So, the players are allowed to take a vote to stop the game, and if every player votes that the game is over, the game ends.
Well, no, it's just the majority, not
Right,
everyone.
sorry, yeah, the majority.
So if you have 100 people, you only need 51 people to say the game is over for it to end.
Yes, and further, if the game ends, all the money that would have gone to the winner instead goes to the families. Each family of a dead person gets the money of that person. It's like the 400,000 or whatever.
So they vote.
Oh,
to
each
stop.
death. Each death adds 100 million Korean, South Korean. I forget what they're called, but
So what's that? 100,000?
I believe
10,000,
yes,
something like
100,000,
that. Like
yes.
it ends up to be
40.
a crap ton of money.
I think it works out to 450 million or 45 million. One of the two.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
So point is they vote. And they do a very good job kind of stringing it out. And lo and behold, the final vote is the old man, and he votes to let everyone go. So everyone goes home. And I thought that was a really, really, really good way to do this kind of plot, is they're allowed to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So they go back out into the world, and lo and behold, the world is just brutal to them, and lo and behold, they wind up coming back. But
Yeah, it's like 8 people decide to not go back, but
Yeah.
everybody else goes back.
Yeah, and
We never did find out if those 8 people lived or not, did we?
I'm assuming they did.
I'm hoping they did.
The way the show is done, the way the game is played, I would assume yes. Because it's all about fairness, which is never really explained why, unfortunately. That's one of the things I wish they'd expanded on more. Fairness doesn't mean you have a fair... Doesn't mean the game itself is necessarily fair. It just means that you have the same chance as anyone else.
Yeah, it's an even ground for everyone playing.
And that, like, you might be stronger at this game because you're bigger or faster or smarter, but whatever. Or this game might be literal gambling, but, you know, you don't get to come in with more money or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. There's a whole bunch of weird stuff being played to get the players to kind of, like, eliminate themselves, and turns out you can kill people in the middle of the night and nobody will care, and more are eliminated. But I guess we'll just talk about the games next, because that's the easiest way to do it. The first game was red light, green light.
Was the second one tug of war or the cookies?
The cookies. It was
cookies.
honeycombs.
Honeycombs, that's what it was.
Yeah, so what they do is they're given... You get to pick a shape at the beginning. The shapes are like triangle, circle, square, and umbrella or something.
No, not square, star.
Star, and umbrella. Mm-hmm. And one of the...
And they're at a playground, by the way. Just a gigantic playground.
Yeah. So one of the players, the one we mentioned who went to SMU, figures out what the game is, but he doesn't tell his buddy. And his buddy goes off to pick umbrella, and he says, yeah, we should all split it up and pick different shapes. And he, like, almost tells him, like, don't pick umbrella, but he does.
Yep, he lets him.
So they find out the game is there's, like, these honeycombs that I guess are treats over in Korea and other countries, I'm sure. And they make them, and they put little shapes into them. And while you can just, of course, eat the honeycomb, normally the idea is just to get, using a needle, normally it's done with a toothpick, to get the honeycomb, the shape out without breaking it. And I don't know if you've ever messed with this kind of, like, cooked honey. I don't know if there's...
It's not easy.
It's brittle stuff. And, of course, they're on a time limit. So, if you break your honeycomb... If you break the shape at all, you can break the rest of it. They shoot you in the head. Immediately, yeah. And so...
Because, yeah, each person has a different guard just standing there watching them work. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. So they're sitting there trying to, like... Well, no, there's only a few guards per people because a few people get away with things. For example, Crazy Eyes has snuck in a lighter.
Well, you know, I will say, I was watching some videos about Squid Game, and there were people like, there were no rules that you couldn't use a lighter.
True.
But she was just hiding under the slide doing that.
So, yeah, and I think that's maybe intentionally ambiguous of, did they know and they let her? Because there's a lot of creative thinking employed, but I'll talk about that more later. But yeah,
Why would you not talk about that right now?
Because the game isn't relevant yet.
Okay, a future game. I thought you were talking about this one.
Yeah,
the honeycomb. There we go. I tried to say cookie.
So she uses the lighter to heat up her needle, and then makes it a lot easier to kind of just burn out the honeycomb.
And as she's leaving, she gives the lighter to the gangster dude. Because she knows that he is really strong, and he's got, kind of an army-ish. He's getting people behind him. He's got a little gang,
yeah.
And no one likes her, so she's like, I'll get this guy on my side.
Yeah, so she's playing the long game there. And so it looks like it's going to go really badly for player 1, the old man, and player 4, 5, 6, the main character. But the main character realizes that it's thinner on the back. Like, because of where they put the shape in, it would naturally be a thinner piece of honeycomb on the... So you can lick the backside and get it to dissolve, and he can dissolve his shape out, because the umbrella is so hard to do without cracking, because it's such a complex shape.
Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of curves.
Yeah, so him and the old man managed to make it out alive. And, so...
They make it. Everybody makes it.
Yeah, they all make it.
But no, okay, so... again, one of the videos I watched, people were like, it would have been smarter if they had just, like, used their sweat or saliva or whatever in the can that they got it in, and it would have soaked up the honeycomb significantly faster compared to licking at it individually.
I don't know if I would have bet my life on that. I'd have to think about that. Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, as long as you, like, chip around the edges, you'll have somewhere to just pick it up very easily. Or, once it's soaked, you just flip it over into your hand.
I'm more worried that it will actually damage the umbrella somehow because it's soaking in more, and now it's going to, like, change the shape and you're going to get shot in the head.
Would it do that?
I don't know. I haven't messed with honeycomb stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised. So either way, the next episode is basically not a side plot, but the side plot is we find out that one of the players is cheating. He's a doctor, and he's working with the staff to harvest the organs of some of the dead players to sell in the black market. So he's getting information about the upcoming games ahead of time.
So he was actually, him and 2 other people with him immediately walked up to the triangle.
Yeah.
If you rewatch it, they go instantaneously.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, I wonder if it's because they know what game they're going to play and they know that the triangle is the simplest shape.
Yeah. So, because his goal is to, survive the game so he can keep harvesting organs so that these guys, it's a thing like that. So this is when you find out that the gangster realizes that he can just kill people. And when lights go out, he starts killing everyone, and it's a whole freaking mess. The doctor teams up with the gangster because he's like, "Hey, I know what game is coming next, but
I need protection.
I need to be alive in order to help you with it.
I also need sleep."
Yeah, that too. And then finally, the riot stops when the old man gets on top of a bunk and is like, "You're gonna kill us all. This is
I'm scared. Yeah. Please stop."
Yeah. And
at what point, it was immediately that we were both like, I think the old man is a plant or something.
I said it almost instantaneously.
Yeah, like before he even voted to leave, we were both like, he's a plant. And then he voted to leave, and we were like, maybe not?
No, I was still on him being an insider.
Oh, okay. Then I was the one who was like, maybe not? And then he came back, and I was like, he's a plant.
And that was just because his number is 1. And the main character's number is 456, which is the last number. I'm like, boy, isn't that convenient that you two happen to be the first conversation that happened in this place. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, either way, other than that, the doctors harvesting organs, blah, 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 blah.
You said it was dead bodies, and that is incorrect. They were harvesting organs from the people who survived the previous ones. So, like, if they were shot in the chest, and so they were bleeding out, they would harvest organs from that one.
Well, it was kind of implied that some of them survived and some of them didn't. Like, as long as they didn't take trauma to the organs that they wanted. So, and that they'd been alive long enough between the end of the game and getting down there. So, like, they had to bleed out, so you couldn't take anyone who's headshot because they would have died too quickly. But you also couldn't get anybody who got shot in the kidney because you want their freaking kidney.
You want their kidneys, yeah.
I mean, maybe you can still salvage their liver. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of detail on that. But yes, it's definitely several of them.
They implied there was some torture at some
point.
point.
Well, one of them was literally alive when they got there. That was the whole point.
Yes.
They have a horrible story about that. But
and that there was someone they'd had in the past who only had 1 kidney and, like, woke up on the table and started attacking them.
Yes, that's, yeah. So, either way, they start recruiting for the next game, and they get, like, everyone's forming teams, so we've got our protagonist group versus the gangster group, pretty much.
Well, the gangster group, he only gets other big guys on his team, because he knows it's tug of war.
Yes, and this is where does he ditch Crazy Eyes here?
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he ditches Crazy Eyes, because they were together.
Because Crazy Eyes goes on to our dude's team.
I thought...
Yeah. Nobody wants her, and their crew was having a hard time recruiting other people, and she was the odd man out, so she was like, okay, I'm on your team now. So they ended up with the North Korean girl, the other crazy girl, that crazy girl.
Yeah.
They had 3 women on their team.
And the old man.
And the old man.
Surprise, the next game in the next episode is Tug of War. So, the strong guy team immediately wins. Surprise. Drags the other team off a cliff. And then it's the main player's team. and they're
up against another team of only men.
And it looks like it's going to be bad. But the old man remembers, this was the other thing that made me super suspicious of him, was that, like, yeah, I used to play this game as a kid, was what he kept saying. I played this, I've done this. And he would, he gives them strategies in tug of war, like leaning back and like trying to just hold at the start before pulling in rhythm. And it looks like it's going to work, and then all of a sudden it doesn't. They look like they're going to lose, but then the smart SNU kid remembers, hey,
take 3 steps forward.
Yeah, let's all take 3 steps forward, do it now, and then the other team loses their balance, and that puts them just at the edge, and then they manage to pull the other team off.
So, again, I keep bringing this up because I'm a butt, but one of the videos I watched, they're like, they never said there was any way to break the rules. They didn't give any rules for this game. There's a railing on the side, and they're like, you could have potentially moved your whole team to the left or the right, because there is an anchor in the middle, so your rope isn't going to go over the bridge or anything. And you could have hooked your legs or your arms into the railing and given yourself a better anchor. Or, if you were feeling confident, you could tie the rope to it and just let them wear themselves out if they can't see, and then pull them back.
I don't think that would have been allowed, and I have proof for that will come later.
Really?
Yes, I think I've heard all these theories, and I think the show gives very clear and explicit proof of how things like that would have been handled.
Talk about the glass one?
Yes, we'll get there.
I mean, how would you...
We'll get there.
I mean, we don't have a lot of time to get there.
Well, okay, fine. We'll skip to the glass one. So there's one where they're jumping...
No, go in order.
I see. So they win the tug of war game. There's a side plot where they find out about the people who are doing the secret doctor stuff, and the doctor gets killed, as do all the people involved.
Because it's not fair that they know the new game.
Yeah, so
it's not a level playing field.
They apologize for that. The next game, they're supposed to pair up. So this is where everyone pairs up in teams. So like the Pakistani goes with the SNU guy, and the main character goes with the old man.
Number 1.
The North Korean girl goes with the girl that she recruited, and the
crazy girl gets left out because there is an uneven group of people.
Yeah, it's now an uneven group of people, and because they killed the doctor, and nobody wants to pair up with her. Works out because turns out she, surprise, gets to auto pass to the other round, which you don't find out at first. And everyone who's paired up has to play a game with marbles. They each have 10 marbles, and they have to get their opponent's 10 marbles playing any game they want. And whoever gets all the marbles lives. Yep. So most people are playing this game where you hide a number of marbles in your hand, and then you guess how many marbles the opponent has in their hand, and they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, you guess even or odd.
Yeah, even or odd. And if you're right, you take as many marbles as you wagered, the ones that were in your hand. And if you're wrong, nothing happens, right? You don't lose your marbles.
I don't remember.
Yeah, so it's all about having enough marbles. The short of it, the North Korean girl doesn't play that game. She plays a game with the other girl where they decide to just chat until it's almost over and then wager them all in one game. And it's who can throw the marble closest to the wall. And the younger girl throws the match because she's like, I literally have nothing to live for.
Yeah, and you have your family that you're trying to save.
So screw it. And her story's horribly sad. The old man, however, is wrecking the 456, and then 456 starts preying on the fact that the old man has dementia, and like, oh, did you bet that way? Did you bet that way? And then the old man at the very end calls him out on it, implying that he really didn't have dementia, but then sacrifices himself and says, hey, take the marbles, you're my best buddy, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you're my gumbo.
And the SNU guy basically pulls off...
He pairs up with the Pakistani guy.
And the Pakistani guy just beats him clean.
In a game he's never played before.
Yeah.
And the whole time, like, the SNU guy is getting, like, really angry and yelling at him. And the Pakistani guy's just like, I'm sorry, I don't think I'm cheating. You just taught me how to play.
Yeah. So the SNU guy, in favor of cleverness, he comes up with a game and doesn't tell the Pakistani. He says, hey, look, I think you can survive. We can both survive this round. I'm pretty sure they didn't plan on everyone resolving their game. Go get all this information for me. And he pulls a bait and switch on the Pakistani and basically takes all of his marbles when he's not looking. Pulls a con move on him. And so he gets him killed.
So my favorite character died. My streak is alive.
Yes, so really sad. The old man dies off screen. Surprise. So finally, we get to the glass game. The glass game is where there's how many?
I think it was 16 forward and 2 side by side, so 32 total, wasn't there?
Something like that, yeah, some obscene number. 32 some panels of glass, so 16 rows, and one panel of glass is tempered glass, and it will hold your weight, and one panel is normal glass, and it will not hold your weight.
It will instantly break.
In fact, the tempered glass will hold 2 people's worth of weight.
That's true, yes.
Which is important. So every single jump, you have to jump across to get to the other side. And in the beginning, they had to pick their order, and 4, 5, 6 gets to go last. But the other problem is you're on a time limit, and if you don't get across in time,
you die.
You're going to die. So and this is the big one to me where I feel like they kind of reveal how they'd handle things. We now know that the uber rich are betting on these games, and this is seen as a form of entertainment. That's what they're doing. So people start jumping across the glass, and lo and behold, they don't always make the right call, and they fall to their death.
My favorite one was there's a math teacher, and he's just like, he does the probability. He's like, I have a 1 in 400 something chance, like, or 4 million or 4,000. Like, yeah, it was ridiculous. And he's just like, and then he just starts skipping across them. He makes it like to 2, and then the third one breaks, I think.
I think he makes it 4.
Yeah, he made it pretty far. It was very. I was really hoping that he could like figure out a mathematical equation to figure out like, I need to go on to this one and then this one and then he'd make it and they'd all like the rest of them would be like, wait, what order did he go in? And then he wouldn't help them. I was really hoping for that. It would have been great because he was so precious, but no. He just took a chance and he lost.
So the rough outcome of this is Crazy Eyes wants revenge on the gangster, so she kills him and herself when he says, hey, everyone has to go before me. I'm not going any farther. I'll kill us all. And then the main 3 who are left, SNU, the North Korean woman, and the main character make it across, but the North Korean girl gets damaged when they blow up the glass at the end, and she takes glass to like the stomach, and she goes into the final thing, or she goes in the next part damage. The reason I keep mentioning this game is one of the characters is a glassmith, and he can tell the difference between tempered glass
and the
regular glass based on the light and the sound. So everyone he doesn't tell anybody that he can do this until it's his turn.
And he's like number 12.
Yeah, he's towards the back. And first of all, I don't blame him for that for 2 reasons. 1, because yes, this game is life or death, but 2, because of what literally happens to him. The front man, the guy running this, and the bettors, all the VIPs, who are these uber wealthy jerks, they see that he's figured out the game. He's getting down low, he's looking at the glass, and he's using the light to determine if the glass is dangerous or not. And he's making the jumps. And so they change the lighting on him.
They make it low.
And if he had told everyone right at the beginning, yeah, I know how to do this, they would have done that right at the beginning, and he would have probably gotten thrown off.
Oh yeah, they would have made him go first, and he would have failed.
Yeah, because he would have been up front. And so what he does is he tries to throw a marble that he has left over from 4, 5, 6 onto the glass to hear the sound, and he goes, I think that's the tempered glass, but I'm not sure. I need something else to toss. Mm-hmm. And they go, we don't have anything else, you need to go. And he's like, hold on, I need to think. And then SNU gets up behind him and pushes him.
And it breaks.
And then they get across. So he claims we have to go, blah, blah, blah. I think that shows very clearly that if you're too clever and too obviously clever, if you think you can just beat the game, they'll freaking change the rules on you. Like, if you were going to tie your rope in tug of war to the railing, they would have dropped the railing. Like,
just like dropped it?
Or I don't know, something. I'm sure like it didn't come up because they didn't have to think of it. But if that were a real life scenario, I would have bet money they would have done something to make you regret that or make sure you couldn't use that to your advantage, because then the game can't be played. They're not going to be like, oh, yep, you're too smart for us, good job, you all move on.
Okay, how about instead of tying it, you just get the rope looped around it so that you have a stronger anchor?
Because if both teams do that, no one's ever going to be able to win.
Well, yes, but that's the point is, like, the first team that does that is probably going to beat the other team.
And then the next team is...
and then if they both do that, then they're, there's a timer on all of them, isn't there?
Not for that one.
No, there wasn't? Oh,
no.
I don't know. I just...
But, like, no, I'm not being, like... But there's just a lot of, like, people who are like, oh, well, they're so stupid, people could have done this, and blah, 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 blah.
That's not what I got. Mine was like, oh, man, I would have tried this. Like, it wasn't negative. Like, I don't watch those videos. I don't read those comments.
I've been seeing a lot of people whining about, like, oh, well, the games are stupid, I would have done this, or I could have just done that, and, and it's like, I think they did a fairly good job of addressing that this is, at the end of the day, a death game for rich people to bet on. And lo and behold, they're going to make sure that game happens. You know, it's not that they, even though they give this big speech about the game needs to be fair, and they do stick to that, there's never really any reason given for why. It's sort of implied that the front man, because he's a previous winner of a game in the previous years, holds this very dearly, but it's not, it never comes down, when you find out who's the orchestrator of the game, surprise, it's number one.
He was a plan!
It's not really for any big reason. There's no emotional connection, there's no past connection. It's pretty much just, yeah, I was rich and we bet on games, but then I decided, you know what, I'm old and I'm dying, I want to play in the game just to live a little. And there's no bigger, like, yeah, fairness is a big deal to me, or, you know, reveal like that or anything. It's just straight up, yeah, rich people bet on this. Which was kind of the letdown for me. It's still well executed, but it's also why when everyone's like, oh, well, you could have just done this to beat the game. And it's like, could you? Could you really? Would they really just be like, oh, yep, you got me? I don't.
They might have. You don't know.
No, I think we absolutely know because of what they did to the glass guy, because he beat the game and they screwed him. Like, for example, everyone's like, oh, you could have jumped splitting down the glass with splitting your legs.
You still would have.
Well, I've heard people argue that you wouldn't, because it said that would only, the way they explain the weight, maybe you wouldn't have, because...
Oh, it would have balanced out your weight enough between the two.
Maybe they would have allowed that, maybe they wouldn't. But, like, I could definitely see the argument that if you were trying to do that, they would have run, like, a saw blade down the middle, you know? Like, just because that's the kind of game that they were playing. Like, no, you have to play the game. You don't get to opt out and I'll survive. They literally tell you, like, it's going to be down to 1 in the end. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, well, they don't tell you, but they reveal later that, yes, it was always planned to only have 1 survivor. There's only ever 1 winner. There's no... It's fair, but only to a point, you know? It's fair within the realm of the outcomes that they want. And they want to be able to bet on the game, and so it has to remain exciting. And they want to be able to, you know, make sure there's only 1 winner. So there's absolutely no way they were going to allow anyone to outsmart them to the point that everyone gets to win, you know? So, I don't know. That's just been my grouchy thing with all this, because...
I mean, if SNU hadn't stabbed her, the ending game would have been 3 people.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they knew he would.
I don't
and
know.
Even still,
I just
even for the ending game, I think with how the game rules work, it would have come out to 1 person wins. They literally said something along those lines, that, like, there's only ever 1 winner, and that they plan it that way. I forget the specifics. It's not quite that explicit, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Either way, there's a whole thing with the front man, but it kind of doesn't really go anywhere. It's I think that entire portion exists just so you get more background on what's going on from the other side, so you can get some intrigue into their world. But ultimately, that kind of dead ends with, yes, the front man is the brother of the detective who snuck in, that the brother is looking for. He's a previous winner of the game, so he disappears every year because he's running these games, not because he's competing in them. And it's very heavily implied he cares a lot about the games being fair, more so than probably the host. But we don't really get any resolution from that. And we don't really get any explanation. There's maybe a setup for a sequel, but to be honest, I don't quite see it as a setup for a sequel. I just see it as an open-ended ending that kind of fits the theme.
Yeah, and the idea that they're going to continue.
They're going to continue, and this main character can't live with the guilt of knowing that. Of knowing that there'll be other people out there. Everyone's like, oh, he'll go back in and distort the games, and I don't know how. Maybe they could do it, but
I feel like he's the type, he would go in and try to convince everyone to opt out, and, you know, he'd be happy with, like, the 3 people that opt out.
I don't know. I just don't know how you do an interesting story out of that. Like, I don't know. He couldn't.
Oh no, yeah, I'm with you. Like, although I totally want more, I don't know how else you can do that story. I don't know.
You could maybe do it from the cop side, make it an investigative thing, and, like, do a couple of character POVs, like one group investigating this missing cop and everything else, because the cop is maybe dead, maybe not. He gets shot in the arm and falls off a cliff, so, you know, no body on screen. Into the water, yes. So he could be alive. It's all very weird, but...
I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. I don't know, you have anything you want to add?
No. or at the end, so it works.
Okay. Love you.
Love you too.
And that is the end of 4 Heavenly Beasts Day 27. I got 6 hours and 27 minutes of footage. And that's the end of page 4. Look at that dragon. You can really see the dragon now.
Just one to go, right?
Yeah, honey, there's only 5 pages.
Yeah.
That's not true. Don't believe his lies.
Was it 20 something?
Like 24 or 25 pages. So I'm like maybe a fifth of the way. Maybe. Although I'm pretty sure the pages on the end are shorter. Let me pull up the pattern. Yep. Ah!
What did you say?
You heard me.
Repeat that.
And you can watch the video when it comes out.
Could you spell that?
Okay, so there's another page next to this one. And then another one that is a little bit smaller. Just a little bit. Not a lot. Like, I remember the Pokemon cross-stitch, the final page on the end was like this long. So it was really nice to finish a page there. Oops. It's not ironed. That's okay. 4 pages, you guys.
Is that the whole thing?
That's how big it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So excited, you guys. Look at that. This is really difficult to do. I don't know what I'm doing.
What's
Just trying to line it up.
I was like, because cross-stitching shouldn't be that difficult.
It really isn't. It's not. People think it is, but it's not. You gotta start small, start on a small project, and then work your way up. And then never do anything on black fabric. That is my advice. Just don't.
Why?
Because it's super difficult to see.
Oh, I see. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Took me forever to come back, you guys, but I almost immediately turned around and finished a page. So, yeah.
Just in time for Christmas.
I just had flashbacks, you guys. Let's not, okay? Let's not. I don't have anything else to add.
You have things to subtract?
No. I don't have anything to math right now. So, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys in the next video.